The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
Hello, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. We're glad to have you stop by. We'd also like to take this time to invite you to share your encounter. You can send your stories to the email bfrealencounters@mail.com, where we will feature your story with all of the respect that it deserves. So send your stories in, bfrealencounters@mail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and your great stories soon. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Real Encounters. Today's episode we have some encounters sent in by one of our viewers, Jeff. Now I don't have Jeff's permission to say anything about a last name, so I'm not going to do that. I don't presume on people. And Jeff, I'm sure you're listening out there, I've got Tom's encounter, the Todd Creek encounter, but Blessed and Cured did not get to me. So if you would like to go ahead and send that in at some point, I would certainly like to hear it, and we would get it on the air for you as soon as possible. So without further ado, we'll get right into the stories here. This is Jeff's encounter, Todd's Creek incident. I was 18, married, worked 2 jobs, but on the weekends, my best friend and I loved to go fishing all over Ohio. We'd fish rivers, lakes, and even creeks. If we could find a good place, we'd always fish it. He'd known about a lake out in northeastern Ohio named Lake Cowan. A good lake, he said. Big bass and even big muskies as well. We made the drive up one day early, trying to get there before everyone else and grab a boat. We got a boat. We're in there, he said as we drove. We arrived at about 7, right as the boathouse opened, and we paid for the boat, and straight to the other side we went. We always went away from others. Best way not to spook the fish. We learned that from my Uncle Jack, an old Arkansas Razorback. He taught me a lot growing up, stories of things he experienced in the woods. I remembered him telling me about being given 1 bullet as a young kid by his father and was told, "Best bring supper back with that," he'd tell him. And off my uncle went. He always got something, rain, sleet, or snow. But I remember he said he'd seen a lot of weird things. He told me a story of having rocks thrown at him in the middle of the woods. Feelings of being watched before it happened. Cold chills that made his hair stand up on his arms. Sometimes even having a rifle wasn't enough to keep his hunt going. He told me as well, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, if that ever happened, run. Get out of there. Don't talk. Just run and get out of the area. He said to keep your head down. This would come to be very good knowledge to have later that day. As we were fishing, we changed over to artificial big ones. We were banging the stalks of the lily pads out there, so we decided to engage with spoons. Something shiny would get him to hit. We tied on, and I go to the back of the boat. I said to Chris, "Don't hook me, bro," and I cast. As I hit the back of the boat and began to fish, a split second later, I feel a tug and wham! Something ripped my hat off my head. I felt a pain in my ear. When I put my fingers on my ear, blood started to pour. "Well, you hooked me. What did I say, bro?" I look over and he's laughing. "Sorry, bro." As I say, "Go now, get me to the boathouse, man. I gotta get this out of my ear. We get to the other side. The boathouse clerk comes out and sees me and laughs. You're supposed to hook the fish, not each other, and laughs. Get in here, he said. I'll cut that out of your ear. He grabs a pair of snips and says, Here, bite this stick. I hear a snap, and he's holding the spoon in his hand. You're good now, and hands me a Band-Aid. Well, that's it. I say let's go home. Bad day. No, Chris says. Let's go to Todd's Creek on the way. Stop off. There's a good spot we can wade for white bass. Good ones, he says. I'm in pain, but ready to catch something. I said, okay, let's roll. So we leave Lake Cowan, and we get to Todd's Creek. It's in Morrow, Ohio, the middle of nowhere. It seemed all open fields and woods. We get there and jump out, and we walk. Chris says, it's back there behind that farmhouse. I look over, and it's a good ways, about 700 yards. Whoa, what a walk, I say. And we're off. We get there, and he's a little down below me, about 50 feet, and we're in the middle of the creek, wading, throwing rooster tails. We're catching one here and there, when all of a sudden, I hear kerplunk. I look around, and on the other side of the creek is all woods. The side we came in on was an open field with a fence running all the way through. At this point, I'm in deep thought. What was that? Not thinking of the situation at all. Then again, out of nowhere, a bigger rock right in the creek, next to me. The splash was huge, and I'm tripping at this point. I yelled to Chris, Bro, what the hell did you throw? That rock? He says, No way, bro. What was that? We both pause and look at each other, and out of the water we ran as fast as the water would allow. We hit the bank running as fast as we could, breathing heavy and soaking wet. Didn't feel like we were getting nowhere. The blue Ford Ranger looked so small from where we were. What was that? Chris said. I look over, bro. Like I know we're out in the middle of nowhere. What the hell throws rocks at you in the middle of nowhere in a creek, deep in the woods? We're both flipping at this point. We finally get through the opening in the fence 100 yards from the truck. Then we hear a pack of dogs barking, chasing something through the woods. I look to Chris as we're running and I yell out, Something isn't right with this whole damn day, bro. What the hell is going on? When we get to the truck finally, throw the poles in the bed of the truck and climb in, his hands shaking like crazy. What just happened to us, he said. I didn't realize at the moment. I was too scared to put it together, but something was happening. A pattern. This was the second encounter, and there would be yet a third. At a later date up the road, up on a mountain a few years later, the scariest day of my life. The end. JDL. Wow, Jeff. That's some story, I tell you what. I've actually had an encounter that I spoke about fishing. Actually, two of them fishing, but I didn't have rocks thrown at me. Or a hook in my ear. I think you were right in the first place. Let's just go home. It's a bad day. I think you had that one right. But anyway, you went on and you had the encounter. And you guys know what it was. I mean, foxes don't have hands to throw rocks. And neither does anything else out there. So that's quite a story. And let's get on to your next one here. While we're in between stories here, folks, let me just take a moment to remind you to hit the like button. Share these stories with other people. Jeffrey's story needs to be heard. This man needs to be heard. These things happened to him and his friend. And we do need to pass these stories along to our loved ones so that everybody knows that these things can happen to them. So hit the like button. That tells YouTube that these stories need to be put out there so that they actually recommend them. If videos don't get a lot of likes, they won't recommend them to be viewed. I mean, if I type in Bigfoot, my own stories don't come up because they don't get enough likes. So please, on some of my videos, I got 2,000 views, but less than 20 likes. So if you'd help out, I'd really appreciate it. Also hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when these stories come out. Really appreciate that. So, also, check the links in the description down below. There's some links to Amazon, which I earn from if you buy something. There's some nice Bigfoot t-shirts down there. Dr. Squatch soap is down there, I think. And some folks like to try and get some pictures of the Bigfoot or even other creatures if they have them on their property. There's some nice trail cams it'll refer you to. Go straight to Amazon. Most of you all have an Amazon Prime account. So check them out, and might be something down there for you. So, okay, Jeff, we got your second story here. Tom's Mountain Encounter from 1995. Excuse me. On a warm September day, we were heading to Tom's Mountain over on the Ohio-Indiana border next to the Miami Whitewater Forest, about 6,000 acres of land. Tom was an old buddy of my Uncle Mike's, a former Army Ranger, so we had permission to go up and fish any time. We'd never been night fishing up there, but tonight it was on. We arrived and started to make our climb. Now this climb was like no other. It started as a level hike, but kind of dipped and then angled out into an 85-degree angle halfway up. It was a job just to get to the top. Off to the right, it dipped down towards the river, and to the left was a ridge that sat way up above the climb. But the higher you got, the ridge levels out perfectly to the lake. We arrive at the top, throw our gear down, and hands on knees, gasping for air. That climb would get you winded. To the north was another hill, same angle. It took you to lake number 2. Off to the left was the woods, 3 feet away. The cows were off to the left, drinking, some of them, half of them laying. It was all shade to the left. Mass woods blocked the sun. The ridge went back to the left, wrapped around all the way to lake number 2. The front of it almost. We were fishing. They were biting very well. We caught a bunch. We were all fishing the front of the lake, right next to the drop down off the mountain. It was always killer fishing. Loved that place. At dark, the fishing slowed down, but it was a beautiful early fall night. No wind at all. It was perfect for night fishing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the cows get up out of nowhere and walk around and head up to lake number 2. We thought nothing of it and continued to fish. About 45 minutes later, off to the left of the woods, the ridge side, I hear something moving slowly, but yet evasively, creeping down from the top of the woods, snapping, cracking of branches, but would stop, being methodical, and then start again. And we thought, deer, and just kept fishing. By this time, the fish had stopped altogether, and we were in competitive mode. My dad and my uncles were always this way, so I decided I'm going to make a move over to the left side. You couldn't fish it easily, but it would bring a few more good ones. There was a 5-foot deep hole over there, and I knew I could get a couple more fish. So I stripped my pole and set it up like the others. We had bobbers on and nightsticks as well, so the lake was lit up a bit. We had a lantern, so we had the light we needed, but it wasn't enough to spook the fish. I got my second pole set up like the others, and I go to grab the minnow bucket and make my walk over to the left. I get over to the curve, and as I make the turn, I put the lantern up to light my spot up. That's when I put the light right on this creature. A cinnamon color on 2 legs, crouched beside the water like a human. Its right hand in the water cupped, as it was taking a drink. As the light went up on it, it froze, and slowly it began to pull its hand out of the lake. The water was dripping off of its huge hands. As its hand came out, it started to turn its head over its left shoulder, my way, slowly. I saw its eyes glowing yellow off of the light, its mouth opening at the same time, slowly. I began to see teeth, 4 canine teeth. Not sharp, kind of rounded, not like a dog or a wolf. And I saw regular teeth as well, kind of squared. Crouching down, it was about 4 feet tall. So we're talking 7 to 7.5 feet standing. All muscle. Broad shoulders as well. A very impressive build. But not immensely huge as other stories I've heard about. It was about 450 to 500 pounds, giving me a low, curdling growl as if it were pissed. It had been spotted with a snoot at the end of its growl. It had beautiful cinnamon-colored fur that covered its body and most of its face as well, kept glancing over slowly towards the woods. But it was in shock too. It seems I slowly came to as I heard my dad and uncle saying, "Junior, what the hell is that? You see that?" I regained my composure, and as I turned to run, I yelled, "Go now! Run down the mountain!" As I'm running, I look over my shoulder to see where this creature is. I jump over the edge and hit the ground. It was still crouched like a deer in headlights. As we hit the edge running, I'm out front, heading down now. I lift the light so we can see where we're heading. Then they take me out from behind and we tumble down the mountain, end over end, as we all try to catch our footing. I am so afraid at this point I can't get my legs to work like I want them to. I couldn't get them out from underneath me. I didn't have the full use of them, and I was so scared, my heart pumping as fast as it ever had. I was thinking any moment this Sasquatch was going to come from out of nowhere, grab one of us, and kill us. It felt like hours getting to the bottom. When we finally do get to the bottom, by the car, we're totally winded. Yet again, slowly catching our breath, they're all yelling over to me, "What the hell was that, Junior?" I say, "You all know what the hell we just seen. Why are you asking me?" About 30 minutes later, after I stopped crying from being so emotional of what we seen, they all tell me to agree to a pact, to never say a word of what we had seen. That Tom wouldn't want people up there hunting his land and trying to stalk and kill this wicked but yet beautiful creature. Later the next day, my uncle went back to get his stuff. By himself, of course. But he went armed for sure. That was by far the scariest event I'd ever had in the woods. Ever. By far. I never went back there after that night. I really didn't fish anywhere, period, after that night, unless it was out in the open, near help. That's a fact. But definitely the scariest, and I knew what had happened. Now, as well as the other 2 incidents I'd had, I knew what was really out there. What a wake-up call for me. Jeff. Well, Jeff, that is a very scary story. And it's not uncommon to become emotional, over-emotional, with an encounter with these beings. I've heard it before. It's not the first time. It produces such an emotional reaction on the people that have these encounters. It's unexplainable. I don't know, maybe, excuse me, maybe it's the creature's natural defense to incapacitate anything that it comes across. I don't know. But it is an odd thing, and it happens frequently when people encounter these creatures. So thanks for sending those stories in, Jeff. We really appreciate it. And we'd appreciate if you could send in the other story that didn't make it in. I don't know why. But Blessed and Cured, I'd like to hear that one. You've got me interested in your stories. They're very colorful, a lot of good detail to them. We sure appreciate them. Very well written. And thanks again, once again, Jeff. They're from my state of Ohio. It's where I live. The stories that you, where your incidents take place down around the Cincinnati-Dayton area, near Indiana. I'm kind of up on the other corner, around Akron and Canton area is where I'm from. And you may have seen a short movie. They're on the internet, Small Town Monsters, about the Minerva monster back in the late 1970s. I remember when that happened. That's about 20 minutes from where I live. So yeah, we have them all over the state. Ohio is a state that has more incidences than most states. So Ohioans, listen up, send some stories in. You deserve to be heard. You need to be heard. And remember, I've said it in my other videos, these creatures are real. Don't worry about proving their existence. It's already been proven. And there is DNA. There are other evidences. And don't forget all these eyewitness accounts for the last 200 years. That counts as evidence, folks. It really does. And keep that in mind. We need to get more of these stories out there. Make sure you tell your loved ones about this. Need to be taught from a young age that these creatures are out there, as well as other creatures. You know, Jeff, the way you described this one on Tom's Mountain, I don't know if it was a Sasquatch. It kind of fits the description of a dog man. So I don't know. And they're a little bit different. Some folks have a little bit more dangerous encounters with those. So I don't know. But, you go with your gut instinct on that one. If they've got canines and a snoot, it could be Dogman. And they seem to be less inclined to be kind to humans. Like a lot of the Sasquatches have shown many kindnesses to humans. So be careful, folks, when you're out there. But you are aware they're out there. We need to teach our young ones that they're aware. And if you start getting that creepy feeling, like Jeff did, it's probably time just to leave the area and go somewhere else where you're not getting that feeling. Okay? So, thanks once again. Remember to share, like, subscribe. Check out the links in the description. We'll see you in the next one. Once again, another great story. Thanks for tuning in. Please share your encounter. Email us, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your story is very important. We will treat it with the respect that it deserves. Also, be sure to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks once again. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Watch out for our next video. Maybe we'll feature yours. Have a great day.